Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower class and social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back, it's only for they bomb. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one lives countries. Lie to your face, fight and die, 'cause God forgives. Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower class and social side, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. See the shit, force of bear. Fuck them back, that's only fair. They bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one lives countries. Lie to your face, fight and die, 'cause God forgives. Yeah. Coming back around again.
Yeah. Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm your host, Ron Stevens. This is Game On right here on a great little network called UCY.TV. It is Sunday, December the 13th. My guest today is from British Columbia, a fellow Canuck, Barry. And Barry, I will have you on in a couple minutes, so just hang in there. I just want to make a couple of announcements first, and then I'll get you on the air here. I'm looking forward to it. Anyways, before I get started with the show today, I've been meaning to do this every Sunday show for a very long time. And I always leave it to the end of the show, and then we run out of time, and I get squeezed, and by the time I've been yakking for 2 hours, I forget what I meant to do at the beginning of the show, at the end of the show. So today I'm going to do what I meant to do at the end of the show, at the beginning of the show. And I want to thank Hal from Behind the Woodshed for all the good work he's doing. And I want everybody to listen to him. And he's on at 3 o'clock. I'm on till 2, and then he comes on at 3. And he's on till 5. And here's a gentleman that knows his stuff, gets the program. He's not leading people anywhere but where they need to be led to. You know, it's almost like we're bringing all the horses to the water. You know, come on, start drinking this, will you please? So I'm pleased as punch to be associated with a network that has a gentleman like Hal from Behind the Woodshed doing a show here every Sunday. So just a heads up to the listeners, 3 o'clock, tune into Hal's show. Now, just before I bring Barry on, I went to get a coffee this morning, and my brother-in-law yesterday, we were getting some leaves out of here, and we were talking. I don't have a TV, and thank God for that. And he says he can't, this whole Paris thing that was going on, he said it's like, 24/7 on Canadian media. And he was telling me how they were parading Trudeau and his wife around or whatever, and that Carolyn, or one of Mulrooney's daughters, I think it was Carolyn. Maybe it wasn't Carolyn, but it was one of Mulrooney's daughters, he's got more than one, made the dress for Trudeau's wife. So, okay, that's the family compact, the right-left family compact, and because Mulroney was the prime minister that brought us Agenda 21, And so I just went to get a coffee this morning, and I just scanned the front pages of the newspapers to see what kind of lunacy is being fed by the different factions of media. And lo and behold, I see a story there that Carolyn Mulroney Lapham could be the Tories' heir apparent. She's beautiful, fluently bilingual, and well-educated. She's Justin Trudeau's worst nightmare. Carolyn Mulroney Lapham, the daughter of former Prime Minister Brian Mulroney, is the best choice to be leader of the Federal Conservative Party, many Tory insiders believe. Like Trudeau, she has an impeccable political pedigree and is glamorous. She's also very smart. The married mother of four, graduated from Harvard. That's where they school the globalists, I guess, and has a law degree from New York University, which makes her twice as dangerous. This is a critical time for the Tories as they cast around there for a new leader. They can't ignore the new kind of star factor that Trudeau brings to politics. If the Tories choose a leader who falls into the same old middle-aged white guy model, they'll languish in the political wilderness for a decade. Trudeau represents a generation shift in federal politics. The Tories must make their own changes to adjust. In 2009, Carolyn wowed a crowd of 2,000 Tories in Montreal gathered to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the election of her father and the Mulroney government. She introduced her dad. Carolyn was the surprise introducer of the guest of honor, surprised since only she and the organizer knew she would deliver the speech, and a surprise because everyone in the audience was impressed with her poise, her perfect French and English, and her command of the room, recalls one person who was there that night. She certainly has the smarts and the glamour to offset the current prime minister in any future election. Everyone in the room that night would agree, said the Tory insider. Carolyn's also active on the charitable front, which is, it's a must. You have to be charitable. You have to be gay pride positive. You have to be, assisted suicide positive, and so on and so forth. That's not seen as a major obstacle. Wait a minute, where am I? She is active on the charitable front. She's on the board of the Sick Kids Foundation as co-founder of this shoebox project, which collects and distributes gifts and shoeboxes to women in shelters. She works in the investment industry in Toronto and probably has her and her dad hooked up quite tight with the carbon trading scam that we're about to get hammered by. While Carolyn doesn't have a seat in the House of Commons, that's not seen as a major obstacle. Her lack of political experience is seen as an advantage, since she won't wear any of the mistakes of the Stephen Harper government. She hasn't publicly expressed any interest in the job, but a growing number of prominent conservatives believe she's the person to renew the party's fortunes. Her father spoke out recently about the need for the party to renew, review, and rebuild in a speech at the Albany Club on November the 5th. Brian Mulroney said the party needs to adopt a tone of optimism and put principle ahead of popularity. That's a powerful message for a party that has to regroup and rebuild. It wasn't so much the substance of the conservative politics that sank them in this last election. It was their style. Harper was an able leader who competently steered the country through tough economic times. It was his scorched earth tone, a certain meanness that turned voters off. The party has to find a leader who can unite the different factions, from the old-style reformers to those who see the way forward as a kinder, gentler conservatism. Tories I've spoken to say Carolyn has the street creed to do that. She has the ability to bring the party together. A number of key Tory organizers are already behind her. She also has the ability to raise money and restore the party so it can win a majority government in the next election. She is the perfect person to lead the Tories. 2 degrees, a successful private sector career, handsome spouse, beautiful family, and better hair than Justin Trudeau. This is the politics of this country, people. Okay, just like the Bushes, the Bush dynasty, and then we have the Trudeau dynasty, the Mulroney dynasty, and in case anybody hasn't noticed yet, none of these people give a sweet bejesus about the people on the ground, because that's not who they work for. They work for the state, and that's all they work for. Anyways, I'm going to bring Barry in now. I apologize for that, but I needed to say that before we get this thing going today. So we'll just wait for Barry to hook in here, and we'll get on with the show. And hopefully we can hook up with Barry. Barry, do we have you?
You have me.
Well, that's a good sign. How are you, my friend?
I'm here. Good, Ron. I'm actually having a bit of a frustrating morning this morning. I've lost my truck keys, and for the life of me, I can't find them. So,
well, that's okay, Barry, because you
gonna forget about it.
Because if you lost your truck keys, the foundations will be happy, and the government will be happy, and the globalists will be happy, and the UN will be happy, because one of their goals is to make personal transportation a thing of the past. So they're probably saying, "Oh, great, Barry, don't find your keys."
Well, it kind of sucks because I was going to go do some grocery shopping and a few other things today, but it looks like until I can find them. It's absolutely. Well, I'm not going to talk about it, but I can't find them. I was trying to calm down, okay, because I've been banging my head against the wall here for the last half hour trying to find them.
You know what's
so
going to happen?
Calming down.
You know what's going to happen? You're going to turn around somewhere today and go, "Oh, there they are. I remember that now."
Yeah. Well, that's what happens when you get old, Ron. You start forgetting stuff.
Well, I think sometimes we got so much stuff jammed in our heads that you're a researcher. I mean, you read constantly, and so the car keys, the truck keys are kind of they'll show up.
Okay, well, we'll go with that today. We'll go.
But you're from British Columbia, and you're from where in British Columbia?
I'm up in northern British Columbia. I'm right almost on the Pacific Ocean. I'm about 40 miles away from the Pacific Ocean in a little town called Terrace, BC.
Yeah, how big's Terrace?
I think we're up around 25,000 now.
Oh, well, that's a lot bigger. The biggest town I got around here within 50 miles of this place, or within 90 miles of this place I'm at in southern Ontario, is like 20,000 people. So, 25,000 people is a decent-sized town.
Yep, you're in Kincardine, correct?
Yeah.
Is that up in the Bruce Peninsula?
We're right beside the Bruce nuclear plant, the largest nuclear plant on the planet.
Right. I know where you are. I've been up there. I've been in Kincardine.
Have you?
A long time ago.
So. Yeah. I've never been to Terrace, BC. I've been all over BC, but never been to Terrace.
Well, we're lucky, Ron. We're blessed with some beautiful country around here. We got 8,000-foot mountains out our backyard. So
it's the most beautiful
place to live.
If you roll into BC, I mean, it's from the time you hit BC till you hit the ocean. I mean, you're in awe. I mean, it's amazing.
Well, beautiful province, buddy. One of the most beautiful places in the world.
Yeah, and the population of British Columbia, I think, is under around 3-4 million people, maybe.
I don't even think it's that high.
I
think it's around 2.9 million.
Yeah, and most of that's down in the mainland.
Most of that's on the coast, Vancouver, Victoria, and Vancouver Island.
Yeah, so the province is, for all intents and purposes, vacant.
Yeah, there's a lot of open miles up here and a lot of forest, man. I can walk out my backyard and be in the bush in 1 minute, basically.
Yeah, and so, we were thinking about moving back to British Columbia, and, I've talked to different people on the West Coast, and they're going, Elizabeth May's here, Suzuki's here, it's really bad here,
We need more activists, because they're all here, Ron.
Yeah, it's like the green blob has moved into town or something out there. It's really bad. But I mean, here in Ontario, we have Elizabeth Dowdeswell, who is our lieutenant governor now, who just happened to write the second foreword on Local Agenda 21, the first one being written by Maurice Strong, and she came straight from the UN. And what she had, I saw a video of hers, and she said she was sick and tired of this incrementalism. Let's just get it done, right? Let's go.
Pedal to the metal.
Yeah, so that's what they've done now. The pedal is right on the metal.
Boy, is it ever.
And they're coming. And
they're coming like gangbusters right now, buddy.
And it's our job to encourage people to wake up. You do a lot of that out there, right?
Every chance I get, every minute of every day, I try and start conversations with people, Ron, because I see us right now at a very, very, very disturbing time in human history. I see accelerations on this planet in events like I've never seen before. It's like I said, they've got the pedal to the metal. They know they're losing the information war. They know people are waking up, and they're going to make a move here pretty quick, buddy.
Yeah, and I think to me that's a positive because like Dowdeswell said, this incrementalism. That's how they've slowly worked everybody into a position they wanted them in, and now I remember Rockefeller being concerned about the internet, right? And we need to shut this thing down, and his boy said, "Well, hey, Rocky." Like, what do you think this whole technocracy thing is built on? Like the internet, you can't shut it down. So what they did was they just flooded the internet with disinfo people. I mean, you got to really wade yourself through this stuff. I feel bad for people. They're saying, "Oh, I'm waking up now, right?" Well, that's good, but you get into the internet, you're stepping into a minefield. You got to know where to step and where not to step, or you'll be equally suckered.
Well, exactly. There's a ton of disinformation out there, and it's put out there for a reason, Ron. It's to get people going in different directions and to create divisions amongst people. You put thoughts into people's minds, and they can become set on those thoughts, and then what do we have? We have an argument, when really we shouldn't be arguing at all. We should all be trying to focus on the one truth that's out there, but unfortunately we're being distracted left, right, and center.
Yeah, they fractured the mindset so badly that when people go to the internet and they see something that interests them, or they hear somebody saying something that they can relate to, they don't question it, and they don't do the background checks required, and they just accept it as this is the people we need to follow. And so it's getting a lot better now. I mean, when I first started doing on air, I mean, I was getting slammed by. I out disinfo groups and tell people to go. I mean, I don't make a habit of it, but if I see somebody that I know is definitely disinfo, I will explain it to people, and then they'll jump all over me. Like I really got hammered with that. What was that corporate? What was that thing? It wasn't We Are Change, but. What was that corporate thing where they were all protesting about the corporations, the 1% and all
Occupy?
This? Occupy.
Okay.
I outed Occupy as soon as I noticed the thing was around, and I got slammed, right? All these Occupy people were crawling all over me, and I thought, well, this is good because this was really a way to find out who's in the disinfo movement here. Because of all these radio shows and that are pumping Occupy as a positive thing, and not having the sense to just go find out who funded it, then either you ought not be listening to these people because they're ignorant and they're too stupid to go and do a bit of simple research, or they're players, right? And later on, people started, oh, I see, okay, you were right. I always get this, like after the fact, right? But it's a lot of work.
Well, there's an old saying, Ron, and it's so true. You just got to follow the money. And that is so true in our world today, man. If you want to find out anything about anything, just follow the money trail. And but you have to follow, and you have to sort through the disinformation. Like you said, there is sites out there right now that are focusing strictly on providing false information to the public. And of course, this is all done for a reason. But to shut the internet down, I don't think they'll ever be able to do that because there's too many ways around it, Ron. I've been talking to people that are really, I'm not a computer geek myself, but I've had some stuff explained to me that, they'll never be able to shut it down. What they will be able to do is bring in a whole bunch of copyright restrictions and really stop the flow of information going between countries and between people through copyright infringements. And we see that happening right now.
Well, this is like they told Rockefeller, there's no way, it ain't possible. We can't get what you want all digital and not have the internet. So yeah, they're working to hide information flow, restrict it, redirect it, do whatever it is they want to do with it in order to make it more difficult.
Well, people are really waking up, Ron, because I'm watching sites on the internet here, and I have hundreds that I watch, or I go to them and see, and I look at the views that are going on some of the videos now. You know, a couple of years ago, some of these sites were getting 5,000 or 10,000 views. Well, now I see the views up to 200,000 and 300,000 on a lot of these sites. So to say that people aren't waking up,
the last two years, last year in particular, has made me smile. I mean, this has been a long, hard haul for people to try to get people to wake up, and the last year, 6 months has been just accelerated so quickly now because everybody feels a negative impact coming towards them, and there's say, well, you know why? No, and then just like you said, just people talking to people, right?
Well, I think people are actually starting to see the impact in their lives now of what's going on around them, and it's garnishing attention.
Well, that's the thing. Because now they see a negative impact coming from them, so then all of a sudden they can't just turn a blind eye and say, well, it doesn't affect me, so I'm not interested, type of thing, which is something people have done forever. And it's like the old that old story about first they came for the so-and-sos and then they came for the so-and-sos, right? And when they came for me, there was nobody there for me to talk to, right?
Very true, isn't it, Ron?
Yeah. So that whole thing's flipping now, right? That whole thing's flipping.
I see the biggest challenge right now, myself, buddy, in our society is for people to break down the divisions that have been put between us. And, these divisions in our society, Ron, they've been put there over 20, 30, 40, 50 years. These people get into think tanks, and they spend days and weeks designing programs for the future of the human race. And it's got us to where we are right now. We're a divided people. We can't identify the enemy because we're fighting with each other. And they're masters at it, buddy. They're the masters at deception. So I say to people, man, we really got to get around our differences and identify the enemy. Because if we come together as a voice, as one people around this planet, they're not going to be able to. They're not going to be able to keep going.
See, I'm a firm believer, Barry, and I've been saying this for years, that if there's any place on this planet that's going to bust this game, it's going to be here. Mm-hmm. We have a humongous country. We have, you could, basically the people of Terrace, and you may correct me on this if you wish, because I could be totally wrong on it, because I've never been to Terrace, but, that a town your size could basically seed from the world. And get by just fine. Thank you very much. You have the resources. You have basically that group of people could remove themselves from everything else and run their own community. And I hate the word community now; it's been so bastardized by these globalists. But run your own lives with no interference from outside. Mm-hmm. Period. And that's what I think about Canada, because, I tell people, so if you just imagine for a minute that the only landmass on the planet is this place we call Canada, and then the question would have to be asked, could that population of 34 million or whatever it is survive and thrive with the resources and the knowledge base that we have now? Could that 34 million people survive and thrive with what's offered to us by this landmass if there was nothing else on the planet? And the answer is we would all be living in Shangri-La. Yeah. Because there's nothing we can't engineer, build, grow, nothing.
Yep.
So do we need the rest of the world?
Nope.
No. We don't need the rest of the world. So they'll say, well, that's that crazy nationalism shit. Well, if you don't believe in the land you live on, then you don't believe in anything. You're going to be led astray. Okay, so can we buck up and look after ourselves? Yes. So I think that we have the opportunity here in Canada, and I hate using that word, to be a leader for the people of the rest of the world. Somebody's got to step up to the plate. Somebody's got to step up and say, you know what, we get it, we've come together here as a people, and the answer is no. We intend to build a nation Okay, we do not intend to be corporate assets. Okay, we are a people, and we will come together, and we will basically ask you other people, i.e. the politicians and the bankers and the lawyers, to please leave. And if you don't leave, we'll build a zoo for you.
Well, we got the FEMA camps. We could use them.
Well, I don't know. I just see a theme park or something. you know. But
well, to do that, Ron, we're going to have to get rid of the corruption in our government, and that's from the ground up. I mean, our government is so corrupt, so deep, and the rabbit holes are very, very long. And to bring back what we need in this country, we're going to have to get rid of this, and that's a challenge we're going to face.
And the only way to get rid of it is at the local level. That's the only way to get rid of it.
Ground, yeah, exactly.
The point is, I tell people, you can't do anything about anything that's going on anywhere else on the planet. You can't do it. You don't have the capacity to do anything about it. The only place you can make any change whatsoever is where your feet are. Mm-hmm. And that's where you live. And the corruption is at your local level because they set this up to be implemented at the local level. So all we have to do is fix the local level of so-called government and hold their feet to the fire, and that we're not going to put up with you mayors being members of the global mayors. We're not going to put up with our police being members of the International Police Chiefs Association, which logo says CIA on it. We're not going to put up with this globalism, okay? We need to bear down and look after our people and our community, period. And there's no excuse for anybody being homeless here. There's no excuse here for anybody being hungry. So if you can't fix that, then what are you doing running around to these meetings, to these globalist meetings, saying that over there, by the end of the century, you're going to hold the temperature to 1.5? You're obviously crazy. You think we, the population, believe any of what you people are doing? We've just been complacent.
Well, unfortunately, a lot of the people do. A lot of people are still on board with climate change, Ron, and I've looked into that one deeply. And to say that it's a massive fraud would be an understatement. People have to do their research. People have to look at research. It's like if you listen to anything that mainstream media tells you about anything going on in this world, you are getting false information because it is not what you need to know. You have to go and do your own research. And I went to some of the top sites in the world and really studied climate change. And to me, it's just a fraud. It's a control mechanism. They're going to bring in laws and change our society in ways that we can't even imagine because the climate change is being ramped up all over the world. And we see all these people coming together. And it's wrong, Ron.
I encourage
it's a deception.
I encourage people to go look at the 1950 Senate hearings.
Paul Warburg,
I mean, that lays it out cold to you. They needed a mechanism, and the mechanism that was chosen was environment.
Of course.
Because they needed a global problem that could only be solved at a global level. So if you studied the Rockefeller Foundation at all, you know that what they do is they kick up these false scenarios. In other words, they create problems and they offer a different set of 2, 3, 4 different solutions to that problem that they've made up, and they do this through suggestion, right? Here's your options kind of thing, right? In order to solve this problem, never asking, is it really a problem? And that's that problem, reaction, solution nonsense.
Exactly.
And so it gets very simple for people. I'm really finding here that because a lot of it has to do with behavior of the police around here now. The police look militarized, and people are starting to ask questions about why, and there seems to be a big push on here to get people out of their vehicles. They're doing whatever they can to suspend licenses here, right? And people are wondering, why are you impacting our lives this way? So there's a whole bunch of things, but the one thing that's still hidden to most people is what's going on at the municipal level, at the municipal halls. people don't attend municipal meetings much, right? They don't go in. Well, they're just kind of useless. They do what they do anyway, so nothing we can do about it kind of attitude, which has to be changed, right? They don't seem to have any idea what goes on at the local council level. They have no idea that the CAOs are all vetted and that the CAOs set the agenda for the local council, and they're not aware that the CAOs are specifically schooled in how to implement Agenda 21 and the other globalist programs without alerting the people to what the hell they're actually doing. So that's complete and total fraud, and that's a breach of trust. And there's a book. What the hell's the name of that book? The Director's Liability Handbook, which one could use against the municipal leaders in order to hold their feet to the fire. They have no authority whatsoever to be implementing globalist agendas in Terrace, BC, or Kincardine, Ontario, or anywhere else.
Yet we see our city council selling all kinds of large tracts of land to the Chinese in Terrace right now.
Certainly.
Yeah. I mean, come on, they control, Ron, people have to realize, of course, that they control the media, they control the TV. Everything that you're seeing and hear and read through mainstream media is controlled by the corporations. So, of course, you're only going to see the information they want you to see. They're very, very masterful at hiding things from the public. It goes on, closed-door meetings go on all the time, and I'm challenging my municipality right now, again, on the issue of fluoridated water. And we started a petition, and all of a sudden, we're getting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of signatures all over the place. Everywhere we're putting out the petitions, people are starting to become aware of the issue of fluoridated water. I've gone to them twice now, Ron, and challenged them. I provided information the first time I went in front of council. I provided information that if they actually read that information and studied the reports from professionals around the world, there would be enough controversy to bring a referendum into Terrace. And they just laughed me off. Well, this time we're going to go in there with about 4,000 or 5,000 signatures and see if they laugh us off. We're going to get this crap out of our water, buddy.
I need to hook you up with a lady who had been listening to my show and got a hold of me. And if I can find her name in here, I really need to I can't remember her name right now, but I need to hook you up with her. She's in Calgary, and she's an ex-school teacher. And she was teaching all of this globalist, stuff, the green stuff and all. I mean, there's not, they take the positive, right? What's wrong with planting a garden? Nothing, right? What's wrong with, not polluting your water? Nothing, right? But they use this as a sales tool to push the real agendas. But this lady got a hold of me, and I really need to get her stuff to you because they went after Calgary. And they got the fluoride out, but they started posting the. They started putting up posters of the pictures of the counselors with phone numbers on them, and it wasn't until they used that tactic. You see, as long as that you go to the council meeting and you talk to the council and the council goes, yeah, whatever, we'll look into it. Have a nice day. Thanks for coming. See you later. Kind of attitude. And that's what I talk about, holding their feet to the fire. As long as it's contained, and at the council meeting it's still contained, even though it's public and it's televised. Nobody watches the crap as a rule. So even though it's public and even though it's broadcast, very few people pay any attention to it. And it wasn't until they really ramped it up and said, all right, we're going to get in your face and we're going to put your face everywhere. And we're going to put the phone numbers here and we're going to put the links to what you can find out about the fluoride that they're putting in your water and why they're poisoning you. Phone this guy up and ask them, or phone this woman up, these counselors, phone them up and ask them, why are you poisoning us? They really got a program going. We got
to call them up. Yeah. We got to call them up for what they are, Ron.
Well, that's what I say. I noticed as long as I was just talking to the CAOs and the counselors and stuff like that, it was all, pat you on the back. Then they started patronizing me and all this kind of stuff. It wasn't until I really started talking to the public and started talking to the staff and explaining to the staff what they were involved in. Then it got ugly. okay, because it was taking the lid off, and it wasn't contained anymore. And that's when they got a little upset. But this lady, I can't find her name right now, but I will find it in here and hook you up with her, because she has all the posters and everything that they used to out these guys, and made their lives so uncomfortable that they didn't have any choice, right? And that's how it's done. See, I've never been a big guy for petitions and protests and that with the picket signs and that, because they don't give a damn about the petition, because that's still contained. Oh yeah, here's a bunch of people who signed a petition, and so we see it, and thank you, we'll take it into consideration, and then chuck it in the garbage can.
Not this time, Ron. We're going to demand a new referendum, and we will get enough signatures. They are elected officials. They're put in to respect our wishes.
Well, actually,
put right in their faces, buddy.
Well, this is the other problem. One, they're not government. Okay, that is said so by the feds. Municipal government is not government. It's a type of business. So it's a corporation that was created by the province to do the bidding of the province, period. And they are beholden to the province. They are in the child position of the province, and they do as the province tells them to do. And the election, as far as the election is concerned, there is no elections. There's never been an election. I spent a long time on that. I spent a lot of time with speaking with upper-level policy advisors and that for the government. And those in charge of the municipal elections here is called the Municipal Affairs and Housing. And after we went through this for a long time, it says, well, how can we vote? We don't vote. We're not allowed to vote. There's never been a vote. And she said, what are you talking about? Well, we register to vote, right? Well, yeah. But who registers to vote? I can't vote. Okay? We register the legal person to vote. That's who gets to vote. So the legal person is a corporate fiction, and that's who gets registered to vote. The man or woman doesn't register to vote because they're not allowed to vote, because voting, this is corporate and it's commerce. And only legal persons have the right to be in commerce. Okay? Only a legal person can buy and sell or sue or be sued. So this is what we register to vote. We act as the proxy, the agent. So this took a lot of time to get through her head, the senior policy advisor, and finally she got frustrated after a couple of months of this and says, okay, I can't verify whether it's legal or not. The municipal elections, well, they're not legal. And I talked to another a place in Kingston. I talked to their people about the election. And she agreed with me 100% that the one who registers to vote is not the one that registers to vote. They're acting as a proxy or an agent for the legal person. She agreed wholeheartedly with that. That was an elections office. But she said the one who actually marks the ballot is a different kind of person. Oh, well, how many of these persons are there running around? Most people think it's them, but when it boils down to it, the one who registered a legal fiction, a corporate fiction, a commerce vote, and that's who got registered. And if you mark the ballot, you are again acting as a proxy or an agent for what was registered. So there is no vote. Never has been a vote. Okay, because Canada, like the United States and everything else, was created not as a country. A country is simply when you walk out your back door and you're in the bush all of a sudden. That's country. Okay, that's the definition of country. Every one of these countries was set up as a corporation. And I finally got the government here to agree that okay, you're right, Canada is really just a rebranded Hudson's Bay Company. And that's all it is. So we're not even in the picture. Okay, we really, as far as the so-called government is concerned, we don't exist. Okay, we do not exist. We have no rights as men and women. The men and women have no rights. The only rights you have are the rights of the legal person, which are the corporate person. So all the rules and regulations and the statutes and the acts bind the legal person. But they say you can't operate, you can't exist in their society, their corporate society, without the legal personhood. So, it's pretty deep, but that's just the way it is. And that's unfortunate. And that's too much for most people to handle, right? I mean,
yeah, it's too much. My brain has a hard time comprehending all those. But I'll tell you, you got somebody for me for fluoride. I've got somebody for you for radio. Ron, I don't know if you've ever heard of Dean Clifford in Canada here.
Yeah, I know Dean. I have never
Have you talked with Dean? Have you talked to him before?
What?
Have you talked with him?
No, but I'm not a big fan of him.
Okay. Well, some of the things you talk about.
I tell you why. I watched Dean over the years, and Menard, and some of these other guys over the years, and these guys are either terribly confused or they're players. One of the two. I don't know what their problem is. I'm hoping they're just terribly confused. And the reason I say they're terribly confused because both Menard and Dean Clifford have this badass habit of mixing things together that can't be mixed together, right?
Well, I've only listened to a couple of
hand, they talk. Well, no, on the one hand, they mix religion in with astronomic or whatever you call it, astrology shit and all this kind of stuff. It's this mixing of the things that cannot be mixed together. It's like my argument was legal and law. It's the same kind of thing. You're taking two items that cannot be mixed together. They're two totally, completely separate things that have nothing whatsoever to do with other. It's impossible for each of them to complement each other. So either you don't know what the hell you're talking about, or there's something else going on here. And so I would maybe like to talk to Dean, but there's a lot of anger there. And anger is good. I've always said anger is a gift, but it has to be harnessed in such a way that it's a positive anger. And I see what this is almost like the Occupy movement, and it is to stir people up. We don't need to stir them up. We need to get them to understand what it is that they're, what this place is, and why it is the way it is, and not be ranting and raving about this and that. I mean, there's some really good information come out of both of those camps. Really good information, and some of it I have spent a long time investigating, and it pans out. But then on the other hand, some of the stuff is so counter to the other message that there's something terribly wrong going on here with those guys. So again, I always tell people you need to do some very, very deep research. You have to really listen. I mean, you really have to listen to what's being said to catch some of these things that are going on, and that's the beauty of deception. I'm not saying either of these guys are disinfo. I'm just going to go with they're confused. Like I said, there's been some good information, just like you people listen to Alex Jones, and sure, he puts out some good information, but if you listen closely, it doesn't take a really it takes somebody that can, you got to have a background in this, right? And this is the beauty. You say something that I want to hear, and then it opens my mind to accepting what else you say, right? And as my grade 6 or 7 teacher said, and that's my rule. That's my rule always. Believe nothing you read here until you personally take the time to verify the information. Failure to do so opens your mind to accepting all manner of propaganda and outright lies as truth. So good deception is exactly that, good deception. It's well thought out, it's well planned, and you have to spend a considerable amount of time to understand what it is you're actually hearing and what's actually being said. I mean, my ex-co-host, when I told him that I forget what that guy's name, the Press for Truth, Dan Dix, was a disinfo agent, he got really, really angry with me because he lives in Toronto, and he said, I know Dan Dix personally. And I said, that's fine. That's probably part of the problem, but now you go and do some serious looking into this and listen carefully. And he goes really, really ugly. Same as the Truther girls and that. Give me a break. I spent a long time through all that stuff, and so he had made a website for us to put our shows up, and like our archives and that. And, I went there, and he goes, go look at the site I built, and I went there, and I said, okay, but I won't ever be back to it. He goes, what are you talking about? I says, we're supposed to be telling people the truth or guiding them the best that we can towards the truth. And here you have a whole list of disinfo agents. But these are all people that got extremely popular at the beginning of the truth movement. These people all came out of nowhere and got real popular real quick. Why is that? And so when you look deeper into it and understand the disinfo game, and a lot of it had to do with the heads up for me was Rockefeller explaining that he didn't want this going on, and the obvious solution is flooded with disinfo people. And so my co-host got really, really angry with me, hung up, and I remember my wife going, John, he'll be back. And I said, yeah, he'll be back because he's a smart guy. But he's in Toronto. He hangs with these guys, right? And so I didn't hear from him for about a week or two, and maybe longer. And when he got back to me, he said, go look at the website. And I went and looked at the website, and it was clean. And I said, what's cooking? These guys are all disinfo agents. Now, I just say that, to alert people, but he took it real personal. And he put out some damning videos of some of these people. Like we have, what's the health ranger guy? What's that guy's name? You know who I'm talking about? The health ranger?
Yeah, I can't pull it out.
Whatever his name is anyway. So, people follow him because he's, health food and all this kind of stuff. But you get back in his website, he promotes the exact same message, which is mass depopulation, and that the world can't survive unless we have a massive depopulation. Total player, and my ex-co-host was a big fan of his, and this guy came out of nowhere at the beginning as well, and so Mike Adams, yeah. So my ex-co-host, I'm 61 now, and he's still, I think he maybe just turned 30 now. He was mid-20s when we hooked up. And, there's a video, I think, on my YouTube where John just rips Mike a new one. And I don't do that. I don't get time to do that, nor do I have the want to do it. But my job really is trying to get people onto a straight path here so that they don't get tangled up with all of this stuff. Or at least I don't no problem going, go listen to everything, go read everything, but people have to be sharp, man. They got to be really, really sharp. And the beauty is that when I can say something that you want to hear, someone else wants to hear, I've captured your attention. And I've pulled your guard down. Okay, because I'm smiling at you, I'm saying things that you want to hear, which gives me the opportunity now to inject other things in there without the discernment that's required by the rest of the message. So it's a very tricky game, and but I'm very pleased that people are finally, getting their act together. When I first put my blog up in 2006, when I already knew all about the wind scam from the 70s. I was well versed in that. So when the windmills started going up around and trying to help people, that's when I started my blog, and I was looking for some links to put on it. And one of the first things I ran into was Alex Jones. I mean, this guy was everywhere, and still is. And so I put a link on my blog, and I would go and listen to him for half an hour or whatever, whenever I had time for a few weeks. And And it didn't take me long to listen carefully and understand who this clown is. And down come the link. I have basically Dick All links on my blog, which has been up there since 2006. I'm not hooking up with these guys. As soon as you see a subject, whatever that subject is, be it Idle No More, which can be traced to the UN instantly, the same as Occupy, the same as all of these things. As soon as you see this being broadcast all over the internet, all of these different sites broadcasting these events and stuff, well, you know instantly that these people are either ignorant or they're players. If they're ignorant, I suppose we all have a responsibility to try to show them where they're wrong. And if that doesn't work, well, then they're just players. You know, I don't have a problem with ignorant people. There's lots of stuff I don't know yet. You know, I thought. No, I forgot his name. Socrates. I thought Socrates was the bad guy. I never spent any time looking at this stuff. And a guy that we're doing some work on his house, we talk and he says, you know, you're a really interesting guy. And so we're talking. He says, you're like Socrates. I said, I don't even know what Socrates is, right? I thought Socrates, because I'd heard he was a senator or something, and I thought, okay, he's just another one of these idiots. So I went and read the other night, I read Plato's Apology to Socrates or whatever. And that's exactly our job. That is our job. What his problem was that he was trying to explain truth. And nothing is a bigger enemy of the state than truth. And so they centered him out, and they hauled his ass into court, and they convicted him of, what was it, destroying the youth or whatever the hell it was he was doing. He was putting wrong information into the youth's head or something, right? And all he was doing was trying to explain the truth. And he had the same thought process on politicians that you and I have. And that's a long, long time ago. I think it was 339 BC or some damn thing. So, yeah, this has been going on a very, very long time.
Yeah, they've been refining it over quite a few centuries, haven't they, Ron?
Yeah. So, you know, I saw a thing last night. Now, you're a Christian, right?
I am.
Yeah, and I saw a thing last night from that's saying that Britain is no longer a Christian nation. And it's the same game, you know, same templates and everything they use to push everything else, right? But again, they have to get rid of the Christian faith in order to get their world government in. So that's another thing. Another problem that we have is to try to get to the people that actually attend church. They've been so badly hoodwinked.
Of course they have. 5032C churches, man. I mean, it's all over the place. You got guys like Joel Osteen and Joyce Myers and Benny Hinn. I mean, these people are living in $10-12 million houses, you know, and just sucking the system for everything it is. I mean, they're false, and they're gonna, you know, in my world, they're gonna have to answer for that someday, Ron.
Well, that's my attitude, and my attitude is also that you know, I look at this as a test, a real test. You know, and God created the world, and He gave us dominion, and He told us not to be deceived. Well, I don't know if anybody's noticed or not, but we've kind of been deceived. And I look at this as the big test, you know. We have a very small group of extremely evil people who wish to play God. And so to me, I see it as a test. You know, I say the Creator's sitting up there going, okay, people, what's it take? What does it take? Okay? Now,
to see the writing on the wall.
I always have these people. I grew up in the church. I'd considered becoming a preacher at one point when I was very young until I understood the education system. And once I understood the education system in the early 70s is when I came face to face with the church and understood the church and understand they were both deceivers. And so I left both of them and kind of went on a journey of discovery, if you will. And, the Christians are going, well, praise Jesus, Jesus will come and save us. I see it the other way. I see it that, they're going like, are all you people stupid? I mean, how stupid are you people? Okay? Now, this is the test. Can you or can you not bring your brains into a state of some sort of reality and notice the evil that is all around you and all of the deceptions and all of the deceivers? And you're waiting for me to come and haul your ass out of your trouble that you allowed, because it says somewhere in there, I don't know the scriptures that well, but, let no man deceive you. And basically, if you are deceived, you get what you deserve. Okay? You're going to be treated as cattle and chattel and slaves, and that's what the corporate system has put us into. That's the position we exist in, and so you've been deceived. Now this is your opportunity to be not so deceived and to stand up and basically say, you know what, we get it. The answer is no. Okay, you're not going to throw out our faith. You're not going to deny a creator, and we're taking it back.
And hence we see the Christians being the biggest persecuted group of people in the world right now, right?
Well, of course they are, because
they focus on destroying the Christian faith worldwide.
Well,
So,
yeah,
why is
because
that?
they told
I
us
know. Go ahead.
they told us we were Christian nations, and we had the common law was basically Christian based because we had the kings and queens taking the oath on the King James Bible and stuff like this. But when I go and study this, all the churches are Catholic churches, all of them. I don't care what the name on your church is; it's a Catholic church, because that's where the corporate entity started, and all of these churches are 501 or whatever they call them churches, so they're tied to the state. So they're state churches, where the state said that they separated state and church. No, they didn't. The church is an actor for the state, so it's another deception. But that all goes back to Rome, right? And so this idea that how ludicrous does a Christian have to? I mean, not. I mean, I'm a Christian. Oh, that's great. Okay. So what church do you go to? I go to the United Church. Okay. I go to the Anglican Church, I go to the Pentecostal Church, I go to the Baptist Church, I go to the Southern Baptist Church, I go to the Lutheran Church. Wait a minute here. Was that kind of like divide and conquer somehow? I remember growing up, well, we go to this church. Well, my friend goes to this church, Mom. Oh yeah, we don't associate with that church. Well, they're both Christian churches. Well, yeah, but they're funny. They look at things differently, right? And that's the old divide and conquer nonsense. And it's gone on. So, but the fact is, you're right. The most persecuted people on the planet now, just go look at when they did Russia over, how many, what did they purge from Russia and the Baltic and the Christians, right?
And what's going on in Syria, what's going on in the Mideast right now, all over the planet, what's going on in the United States of America.
Yeah, because the new religion, or the religion they're trying to build, is an earth worship religion, right? You worship the earth, you worship the creation, not the creator. And therefore there is no room for Christianity. So the idea of bringing all the Muslims and Islam in is that in the Islamic world, there's no division between state and church. Okay, so that's they want to get rid of Christianity. They want to get rid of common law because even though common law is a bit of a fraud, it's been something that we've embraced But we have to get rid of that because that's also attached to the Christian faith. So we have to get rid of that. We have to get rid of those laws, okay? Because those laws are basically built to protect man, supposedly. And the new laws are not there to protect man. They're there to protect the earth. And man, obviously, is hurting the earth. So what are all these new laws about? Getting rid of man. So you can't have the law system that we have now, even though it's fraudulent. And you can't have Christianity because they can't move forward with as long as those two things stand. And we must protect this as much as I know that the law that we live under is a complete and total deception and fraud. That's beside the point. And I think that's one of the things that irritated me most about some of the stuff Menard and Dean and Occupy and all that was about, is that we have to get rid of this whole corporate entity world, which is the message of the United Nations, which is the message of the globalists, so that they can clean the board, basically, and start again. Out of chaos comes order. So, you know.
What do you think? What do you think of Mr. Trudeau's refugee program here?
I love Mr. Trudeau and everything Mr. Trudeau does. I believe in. I don't believe anyone should give Mr. Trudeau a hard time ever. His father was our prime minister. He was Jesuit trained, therefore he must be a good man. And
well, don't forget he was a member of
I'm
Skull
sorry.
and Bones. Skull and Bones, and he was a regular attendee at the Bohemian Grove and the Bilderberg meetings. So
that
was Pierre.
Club of Rome boy. And,
Club of Rome, and regular Skull
but
and
that
Bones
was
meetings.
Daddy.
He was a good guy.
Justin's different.
Didn't have any influence on Justin at all. Not at all. When Justin going to the mosque and professing his relief, that doesn't. What the heck? Hey, he's all good. Now he's bringing 50,000 Syrians into our country from a civil war zone run. That, by their own admission, 1/3 are Islamic radicals. That's their own admission. They're bringing 50,000 into Canada. What's going on there, buddy? And hey, listen, buddy, can I take a break for a minute here? My bladder's just about to explode. I drank 3 coffees this morning. Can we take a break for about 4 minutes?
We'll sing "Oh Canada" while you're gone.
Oh yeah, can we, yeah, but I want to talk about that.
You know what?
And I want to talk about Kathleen Wynne when I get back.
But look on the top of your toilet tank. Your keys may just be there.
What, you mean Canada's going down the toilet?
I'm going the hell out of this.
I'm going to take a break for about 4 or 5 minutes here. I'll be back. But let's talk about Mr. Trudeau for a few minutes. Let's talk about Kathleen Wynne, okay?
Yeah, you take it when you get back. You take control.
You're doing fine. I'm a good audience. Anyways, I'll be back in about 4 or 5 minutes, buddy.
All right, sounds good to me. Yeah, that's fun. I'm enjoying the hell out of this today. So he's off for a few minutes. I should actually take off for a few minutes and have a smoke, but I can't do that unless somebody else can take control of this thing for a bit. But yeah, so I was one thing that really got me, and I'm going to do a show on that maybe Tuesday or Thursday. This thing. Socrates thing. That kind of threw me when I read it. It really kind of threw me. And I thought, okay, this is our job. This is our job. It's our job is the same as Socrates' job, and that is truth. And when I read that thing, the Apology from Plato, or whatever, that one of the big factors in that Socrates brought forward was that the control by fear, and that if they were expecting him to grovel at the court, and that wasn't going to happen. Okay, and I think that's probably one of the bigger messages there, that he knew what he was doing was correct, and they put him up as a threat. And somewhere on here on my blog, I think I have something from Goebbels or somebody. I mean, a lot we were told so long ago. I mean, Cicero, 42 BC, for crying out loud. A nation can survive its fools and even the ambitious, but it cannot survive treason from within. An enemy at the gates is less formidable, for he is known, and he carries his banners openly, but the traitor moves among those within the gate freely, his sly whispers rustling through all the alleys, heard in the very halls of government itself, for the traitor appears not traitor. He speaks in the accents familiar to his victims, and he wears their faces and their garments, and he appeals to the baseness that lies deep in the hearts of all men. He rots the soul of a nation. He works secretly and unknown in the night to undermine the pillars of a city. He infects the body politic so that it can no longer resist. A murderer is less to be feared. I mean, that's from 42 BC, for crying out loud. This is 2015 AD. I mean, how could these guys way back then be so intelligent, and we remain so ignorant? You know, if you tell a lie big enough and long and keep repeating it, terrorism, 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 or whatever, global warming, global warming, global warming, climate change, and keep doing it enough, people will eventually come to believe it. And that's exactly what my grade 6-7 teacher told us. The lie can be maintained only for such time as the state can shield the people from the political, economic, and or military consequences of the lie. It thus becomes vitally important for the state to use all of its powers to repress dissent. For the truth is the mortal enemy of the lie. And thus, by extension, the truth is the greatest enemy of the state, which is no different than what Socrates was saying way back, I think it was 39, I think it was 339 BC or somewhere in there. So, I mean, these people got it a very, very long time ago. And why we can't get it today, I mean, people are starting to get it. We got a long ways to go yet. The beauty of it nowadays, and we don't have any excuse nowadays, because way back then, during Cicero and Socrates' time, they didn't have the internet. Okay, they didn't have the internet. Okay, they were still chiseling crap on stone or parchment or whatever, and had runners to take a copy to somebody. Okay, the ability to disseminate information was tight, to say the least. But here, those guys way back then nailed it. They warned us. You know, our Creator warned us. Everybody warned us. But through their deceptions of using flattery and promised benefits, and that you don't have to be responsible because we'll be responsible for you, we got lazy of the mind and we got weak in the spine. And this is where we find ourselves today. So, you know, we got to pull up them bootstraps. We have no excuse for not winning this, none whatsoever. Did you find your keys, my friend?
I didn't find the keys, but we don't have a choice. We must win this, Ron, because if things keep going the way they are, we're all going to be very, very upset with ourselves that we didn't take action when we still had the window of opportunity. We still have the window of opportunity now, but I believe that window is going to close very, very quickly in the future.
Well, they're going to try and close it. But I think what they're going to do, well, they have already come over. They've already pissed so many, excuse my language, they already ticked so many people off. Like I'm driving down the road with my brother-in-law after his mother died. We went to pick up her stuff at the home, and we're coming back in his van, and he's a contractor, and you know, I said, mind if I smoke? And he said, no, my wife smokes, but then he cautioned me. He says, if you see a cruiser coming up behind us, dump that damn ashtray and get rid of the smoke. And I'm going, what are you talking about? You know? And he says, well, I'll get a ticket. What do you mean you'll get a ticket? For what? Well, you can't smoke in the van. Why? It's your van. Yeah, but it's a work truck. And, well, they give you tickets now for this. Oh, wait a minute. What happened? I built houses for years. What happened to the tough construction guys? You got some little pencil neck going to hand you a ticket for having a smoke in a vehicle that you bought and paid for? Now, so they're really getting it under people's skin now. They're really starting to irritate people.
Oh boy, they're pushing it. Like,
and they intend to irritate us a whole lot more.
Oh, they do. They do, Ron.
So their idea that they're going to win, I have, I don't want to make a prediction, but the only reason I continue to do this is that I know we will win, and that you and people like you must keep doing what you're doing so that we do win. Because without people like you, we won't win. Okay? And so we have to grow as many Barrys and Bills and Janes that we can put together to explain to the people. And as the people start getting their little carbon tax bills and find out that this law is an international law that some idiot made in Zambia or some place that somehow affects your life.
I'm on the air, Maya.
I think the pushback's going to get real testy. I mean, look at what BC did with the smart meters, right? What was the smart meters, right? Didn't they get a referendum on them things or something? They got a referendum on something out there. They were right ticked off about.
Well, Saskatchewan removed them. Alberta right now, there is a referendum going on about that. In British Columbia, there's massive pushback against it right now. People are demanding the removal.
Right. So people are already getting into the idea of standing up and pushing back, right? You know? So as they bring more to us, those people that stood up and fought against, like you guys are doing, fluoride, or people stood up and fought against smart meters or you know, the transit taxes or whatever it is, the globalists are empowering the people. They think they're pushing the people down. They're empowering the hell out of them. Because each time, you know, you have the people that fought, say, against smart meters, and then there's the fight against fluoride in that. Well, for each of these fights, you're picking up people from one fight to the next fight, okay? So you're actually growing an army.
Well, yeah, as soon as people start looking into issues, it opens up their mind to other things that are going on around them. If there's something wrong here, well, what's going on over there? And it does work to wake people up. It does.
A lot of people need something like that to you know, a lot of people won't stand up and say boo if they're, you know, if their mouth is full of it or whatever. But once they've done it, you know, a friend says, "Come on, we're going to go and fight smart meters." Well, I don't want to get involved and I don't want to do it. That neighbor or whatever coerces that person into coming along. Just hold a sign or whatever, or sign a petition or whatever, right? Those people always do that the first time, most of them in fear. And once they've done it, there's a slow incremental empowerment going on, okay? And so as the globalists push harder and harder and harder, there's more for people to get involved in, and they feel more and more empowered. And then it comes to a point where they just finally say the magic frickin' word, no.
We're not going to take this anymore.
Well, something like I don't want to go there, but we only got to get to know.
Exactly.
You know? Put it in capital letters, throw some exclamation marks behind it, and they're stymied. You know, they're pushing so hard to get someone to start shooting at them, and that's the other good thing. You know, I encourage the Americans all the time to stay locked and loaded. That's a good idea, but please refrain from giving them what they want. And here in Canada, being a more peaceful type country, so-called, which is another fallacy, but you know, we don't have the availability of armaments that the American people do. So, you know, we're not really in a position here that you're going to see a bunch of Canadians running roughshod. Although, you know, if you go back to the 1200s, the commoners did get it, and they got it very clearly. and they went after the judges and the lawyers. They figured out what the problem was, and they went out and they slaughtered a horde of them. And that's where that Magna Carta thing came from. Okay, but then the lawyers said, the Magna Carta was another thing because they came to, what lawyers and judges were left came back to the king and said, we got to go get those guys. And he says, I can't. I signed this agreement. And, the good old lawyers say, well, you signed that under duress, therefore it's null and void. Yeah, so they've held this, the Magna Carta up to us as this wonderful document all these years, when in fact it was just another, it was another tool that was used to
in their toolbox
to screw with us, right? So
let's just talk. Hey, Ron, can we talk about Mr. Trudeau's immigration
please.
Right now and what he's doing with Syria? I mean, I've looked into this pretty deeply now, and I know for a fact that Canadians in general now are really starting to pay attention to this whole issue, because what Mr. Trudeau is doing, in essence, he's bypassing Canadian immigration laws. Normally, it's about a 10-month procedure to get into Canada. I looked into this quite extensively, and it's usually 10 months, a year before you can get into Canada. But he's bringing people in, Ron, from a civil war zone, where by their own stats and by United Nations stats, 1/3 of them are Islamic radicals. Mm-hmm. So, and he bring them in without proper screening procedures. We're going through a preliminary process of screening is being done by the United Nations. Now, their bill, I don't have the docket number in front of me, I think it's H34. The United Nations describes what they classify as a refugee, and being a terrorist does not disqualify you as becoming a refugee under the United Nations guidelines. Mm-hmm. And they are the frontline screening for the Syrians that are coming into Canada. Once they land into Canada, the Canadian government's telling us, of course, they'll screen them some more, and they'll do all the proper background checks. But the problem with that is once they put their foot on Canadian soil, it's like a sponge. You cannot, unless you actually, it's extremely hard to get them off of Canadian soil once they've set their foot here. So I say to people, shouldn't we step back and take a little bit of a look at this and ask ourselves what Mr. Trudeau is doing? Why all of a sudden the push to bring people from this particular area of the globe, when there is thousands of places right now where refugees are being persecuted and hurt just as bad as Syria, but all of a sudden the push to bring these people from this particular area of the country into Canada without proper procedures, they're not going through proper health procedures. I mean, to me, this whole thing stinks. I just cannot see the logic. I have nothing against normal immigration in Canada, but I believe totally in screening the background of these people extensively. And I say to people also, now, what has Syria got for a data bank, Ron? What do they have to actually provide us with information on these people that want to come into Canada? They don't have a proper database on their citizens. So what are we going by? Falsified documents, falsified passports. It's being brought out all over the place right now that these people are making their own passports and they're falsifying documents. We see what's going on in the United States right now. I am not prejudiced, Ron. I love immigrants. I think anybody who comes to Canada with good intentions, wants to follow our laws and our values, great, come on in. I welcome you with open arms. But right now, what Mr. Trudeau's doing, it disturbs me greatly, buddy. There's an agenda there, as far as I'm concerned. Well, your thoughts?
Well, you hit it right at the beginning, okay? It's not Trudeau. He ain't got nothing to do with this. He's just a puppet.
Of course, he's the puppet. Okay.
He's the head of government. The Queen is head of state. The Queen is sitting at the top of this. The Queen is at the apex of the political and the legal systems. So your politicians are classed as employees of the Queen Crown Corporation. So therefore, we don't have a government. We have a board of directors doing the bidding of the head of state. So this whole idea of politics is a complete and total deception. As far as what Trudeau is doing for immigration, I mean, look at you want to talk about Wynne in a bit, but what Wynne did with the sanctuary, turning these cities in Ontario into sanctuary cities, is to completely thumb the nose at the federal law, which is immigration law. They're the ones that are in charge of immigration, not the provinces. So these sanctuary cities completely bypass the federal law. Now, did the feds come in on the provinces and shut that down? No. And why is that? Well, you just have to go through a lot of UN documents. And you said at the beginning, the whole migration deal was set up by the United Nations, and every country is a member state of the United Nations, doing the bidding of the United Nations. And the reason, if you look at, I looked at that one night on the show really quickly. I don't spend a lot of time with that sort of thing because I'm more focused with what we can accomplish here on this soil. I really can't do nothing about Syria, but or anywhere else on the planet. But when I took a look at Syria and I looked at the population, and it was like 20-some million people, I think it's 4.8 million people are now classed as refugees, have left the country, been forced out of the country. Some of these people have been living in basically UN camps for their entirety of their lives, like 25-year-olds. They were born in the camps. They're still in the camps. So what's been going on over the last 25 years or so is to build this great wave of migration, so when they let it loose, and all of the countries have agreed to it because all of the countries are part and parcel of the UN agenda, which is the taking down of the West and control of all resources on the planet in a few small hands. So, but what I found interesting about Syria, Barry, was that when I looked at the structure of the country, or the faith structure of the country, it's mostly Islamic, and there used to be in Syria, and I haven't had time to look into it, but the percentage of Christians in Syria was actually, for it being basically an Islamic country, a Muslim country, the Christian numbers were reasonably high.
Yeah, they are.
And they are almost non-existent now.
Exactly.
Okay, so there's part of your answer. Why are we bringing up? It's all about Sharia law, and it's about the death of Christianity. So is Mr. Trudeau guilty of a crime? Absolutely. Absolutely guilty of a crime. This is conspiracy to create, to take down the country.
Destabilize us. Of course.
Yeah. And that's part of the chaos program. But all of these people are puppets. All of them. I keep wanting to see a picture of Trudeau. I mean, you may or may not like this, but I put up a picture of Trudeau and Wynne at a gay pride parade or something, and Trudeau's got the rainbow flag draped across his leg, and Wynne has got her hands up, kind of looking to the crowd, and Trudeau's looking at Wynne. And I couldn't help it. I just took the picture and wrote across the picture a dick and a dyke, and threw it up on Facebook.
Well said.
I couldn't help myself.
Well said. Oh man, our world is really going down the tubes.
Well, it's always been.
Like
No. Make no mistake. It's always been down the tubes. It's not going down the tubes. It's always been down the tubes. And what they did was, what they're doing now is they've gotten real greedy. Okay, they allowed us to build these lands. They allowed us to make their claim on these lands so-called legitimate. Without our forefathers coming here and building the villages and the towns and whatnot, the corporation had no legitimate claim to these lands. The idea was that these bankers and queens and kings and lawyers would finance missions, if you will, to go find something they could claim. And the idea was to map it, bring back the maps, and we would claim the lands and the maps. And but it's really an empty claim, okay, because you haven't improved anything. They claimed them on the basis that the lands were abandoned because they claimed them on the basis, what was the word they used? Waste. They were wastelands. Therefore, they belong to nobody. Therefore, we will claim them, and we call them waste because we don't see any improvements on them. There's no commerce going on there, okay? The natives didn't do commerce, okay? They traded, but they didn't do commerce. So they were claimed as wastelands. Now, the only way that they could possibly have a valid claim was through improvement. And that's what they did with our forefathers. Our forefathers were serfs upon the land. They had no future for their families. They knew that. And so the lawyers and the bankers and the kings and queens get together and say, okay, well, we need to make a claim on this land, so we got to improve it. And we sure as hell ain't going to do any work. We're the schemers and the deceivers. We're busy with that. So how are we going to get people to leave their homelands, to travel to somewhere they know nothing about, don't know what kind of land, don't know what kind of hardships they're going to have? And they said, well, okay, well, why don't we'll grant them property. Okay? We'll grant them property. But property and land are not the same item at all. One is fictitious and one is real. And so that's what they did with our forefathers. They gave them the right of property, which they didn't have back in their homelands. So those people got on the boats knowing that there was no future for their families under the system they were under, and they made the journey, and they took their risk, and many of them died on the way, and many of them died once they got here, but it was worth the effort to give their families a future. Only thing is, they never owned anything. They were used to make claim to the land. So, we've always been under this same system. I don't know, this Comer thing about getting back the Bank of Canada. Well, that's a total fraud as well. And you just follow that back. These people are communists, and it was funded by the Rockefeller Foundation. Well, you don't need to know much more than that to know the whole Comer thing, get the Bank of Canada back, is a complete and total fraud. It's another deception. It's another look over here kind of thing. Don't look at what's important. And I've taken a lot of flack over that for getting up their buns about that, about the Comer thing. But if you look at, they're saying, well, back then the Bank of Canada could lend money interest-free for the construction of infrastructure and that, the rail lines, the St. Lawrence Seaway and that. Yes, but that is all lending money to the corporation. It's free corporate money. Okay, it's interest-free corporate money. Canada did not lend money to its people interest-free. While that was going on, the interest-free loans to the corporate bodies, people were paying on average of 6%. Okay, so that's another. So we've always been at the bottom of the pile here. So it's tough for people. Well, Canada's such a great country. Well, okay, I guess. Depends how you look at it. They were benevolent to us while we gave our labor to build what is here. And I said way back in the 70s, we do not live in anything you could call a democracy. I didn't understand what the terminology meant way back then. But we are actually governed by a benevolent dictatorship, because if you look at the way things are set up here, once you elect someone with a majority government, there's basically no checks and measures whatsoever. I mean, the Senate, they fill with whoever the hell they want at the time. So basically, whoever gets the majority government can do pretty much whatever they want as long as the Queen says it's okay. And they're all in the Queen's Privy Council, so they're talking all the time amongst each other where they're going to go, how they're going to move us. So we're basically a benevolent dictatorship. And I said, as long as it stays benevolent, right, the Canadian people will stay docile. And that's the whole point, is to keep them docile. And I said, once that changes, and it will change somewhere in the future, that the people have been made so docile and they believe so much that the government was benevolent, their tools to fight back have basically neutralized. And I think that's where we were. But that's where we're leaving now, thanks to guys like you. Okay? The people are starting to understand this is not a benevolent government. Okay? And it doesn't have the best interest of people at heart. Back to the immigration or the migration, or whatever you want to call it here for a minute. Does it break immigration law? Absolutely. But we're under international law 100% and completely now. So our immigration law doesn't matter. Okay, it's the UN immigration law now that we're under. Okay, and they can flood whoever the hell they want in here. Now they can and they can't because any one of our government leaders can say, you know what? No, okay, because we signed on to the UN, but we also have the right to sign out of the UN or off the UN. Okay, we have that right. That was the whole part of the sucking in to sign on to the UN. You can walk away from it, but then our prime minister is not the head of state. So, if Trudeau or some politician said, you know what, this is a complete and total fraud, it's hurting the people, how is it we're bringing all these people in, bypassing the immigration rules, giving these people housing and money and all this kind of stuff when we have tens of thousands of people in this country who are homeless, who can't keep food on their table, who can't keep clothes on their kids' back? Something's bad wrong. So even if you had a prime minister in this country that said, the brakes are on, we're ripping up this thing, the UN, this whole carbon thing's a scam, this climate change is a scam, the WHO is a scam, the FAO is a scam, the International Monetary Fund, World Bank, all connected to the United Nations are a complete fraud. So if we had a prime minister stand up and say that,
he'd be dead.
Well, he's part of the Privy Council, and the Queen is the head of state, and the Queen is run through Rome and controlled completely by the lawyers and the bankers. Okay, so somebody's going to get it.
Oh boy, are they ever!
Okay, but this is the problem. We have weak people supposedly being our leaders. These are extremely weak people, and I am absolutely sure when I look at the hardships that our forefathers put up with to offer us a better life and their families a better life. Those people had moral values, which we've lost. Most people have lost. They had spines and they had strong minds, and we have allowed our minds and our spines to be weakened, and we have to get over that. And we got to do it quickly.
I agree. Absolutely, buddy.
We have to make a declaration that these lands belong to us. And when I say us, I mean the native people. There's this thing of the native people being pissed at the Christians and that. Look at the Christian people are good people, okay? The Christian people, if it had been just the Christian people that came over here, they would have got along fine with the native people, okay? It was the politics, not the people, okay? I try to talk to native people as much as I can. I am absolutely disgusted with what happened to them. But what happened to the native people, and I want everybody to understand this, the template they use to destroy the native nation is the same template they're using to destroy these nations now in the West. Same template. Very same template, okay? They re-educated the native people, so to speak. They took the native people from their families, which the state has taken our children from the families and put them into the state schools. Same game, okay? They took their religious beliefs or whatever and called them pagan and whatnot. We all believe in a creator, right? So they destroyed those nations. They destroyed those people. They depopulated those people to bring us to a certain point. Now the exact same is going on. The flood of immigrants that came in and basically were said to destroy the native populations. The same immigration now is flooding in to destroy the Christian nation. The difference is in both cases is that I am not anti anybody. I sound like you. Personally, I believe that this country should be at least minimum 60 billion people. It's probably 100 billion people. But when you come here, you come to be part of the people. You become part of the nation. And if you're trying to change the nation, then you need to go away because that is not how you build a nation. So the template's the same template they used against the native people to gain control, and it's the same template they're using today, where Trudeau and everybody else. It's not just. I mean, it's every political party is on board with this. Yeah, there's no dissent anywhere. You may have the odd one that says something, but that's just the smoke and mirrors bullshit. You know, So, you know, we really just need to get our acts together and understand from history why, you know, you got to ask yourself, why does history repeat? Because they use the same templates. You know?
Duh. Oh, yeah. Well, let me think about that for a sec. But you know what it's going to take, Ron? It's going to take people to get away from their TVs. People have to start looking themselves in the mirror and really identify what is happening around them. And you got to ask yourself, but if we see this stuff coming, guys, if we see this and we know that even an inkling of this is true, what we're talking about today, me and Ron, if even an inkling of this is true, then that should be enough to disturb you to the point where you get down and start getting away from your TV at night, stop putting on the TV and watching hockey or football or American Idol, get away from the distractions that they're putting in front of us and do your own research. Because really, when you start going down the rabbit holes, if it doesn't irk you, if it doesn't stir your soul, and you come to the realization that our children are really in danger, that our whole society is being attacked from every avenue of life right now. Nothing is common sense in our society anymore. It's a total turn upside down from what even I've witnessed in the last short 50 years of my life. I have seen tremendous changes in our society, and these changes have been implemented before, and we've gone through these phases. But what I'm seeing right now, guys, is just an all-out attack on the human race. Through our food, through our air, through our water, through everything they're doing to us, the vaccination programs, everything they're doing to us is an attack on the soul of the human being. And of course, when society gets to a point where we are right now, Ron, where we're weak, we don't have a spine, because you reiterate that, and I agree with you 100%. Where has our spirit gone? Where has our ability to actually look the beast in the eye and say, hey, this isn't right. This ain't right. Why aren't we standing together as a people? Well, I say again, Ron, we've been divided very masterfully by people that sit in think tanks for hours and hours and hours, and they decide how we're going to divide the human race, who's going to have a war, who's going to win that war, which company's going to be involved, who's going to take the money away from the people. It's all a lie. It's all smoke and mirrors. We've been lied to from the day we were born.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
We have to address that and say, hey, look, doesn't this piss you off? Because it pisses me right off. I look at my grandchildren, I say, buddy, can I give them anything that I enjoyed during my course of my lifetime? Can I look in the mirror and say, hey, in 20 years, my kid is going to enjoy the same thing that I got to grow up with, my grandchildren, that I look every day and I love to death, and I realize what's coming to them, and I say, no, I can't. We gotta address this, because if we don't, guys, what are we laying down for our children? What are we leaving for a legacy right now, Ron? Well, it's a disgrace.
This is what I tell people, Barry. I said,
Excuse me. I get passionate about this, buddy, because it pisses me off.
Sorry. Well, no, you have to be angry. If you're not angry, if you're not angry, as far as I'm concerned, you're already dead. You're not alive. If you're not angry with what's going on here, then you're not alive, and that's too bad. You know, when you finally pack it up, right? Because you're going to die. That's what I tell people. You're going to die. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. What is your legacy? That you watched more hockey games than the next guy? That you ate more pizza while you're having a beer on the couch scratching your belly than the other guy? That you particularly were more ignorant than the other guy your whole life? Is that your legacy? That's a pretty poor thing to look back on your deathbed. That's pathetic. And it's too late then to say, geez, I should have done something, you know? And I've had people say that to me. You know, they say, when I go through this with this eventuality of death, and they say, so we're supposed to do something. Yeah. Jesus, you know?
We're fighting for our children right now,
you
guys.
Don't have to be a mushroom any longer. You know, become alive, right? And I do believe that people, I mean, it's going to get interesting, Barry. It's going to get really interesting. But I have no doubt in my mind, and I've never had any doubt in my mind, and people may think this is absolutely crazy, but I remember it vividly. I was a young man. I was under the age of 8 years old, sitting on a step, a warm morning, noonish time, with my feet in the sand at the bottom of the stairs, and it was nice and warm. I was in my bare feet, and my friend lived upstairs in the apartment above. It was like a duplex, I guess, with outside stairways, like they used to build them way back when. And he was having lunch. I was waiting for him, and I've been always scratching my head. My earliest memories were, what is this about? This thing that I'm involved in here. And I remember looking at the sky and asking the question, what is this about? And I remember specifically the answer I got. And it was, keep learning. Gain all the knowledge you can, because it's going to be needed in the future. Well, we're there.
We are so, Ron. And, I apologize sometimes if I get a little bit boisterous about things. But it's like you said, if you're not pissed off and if you're not angry at what they're doing to the future of our children, to the future of this planet, what they're doing to our environment. I mean, I share 90% of your views today, Ron. I share with you absolutely 100%.
Well,
To get other people to understand that, though, you have to really go deep down the rabbit hole. So I try in my own life to try and keep on a level plane with people, because I understand what's going on deeply. I understand everything you talked about here today and how it's playing out in our world. But we have to reach people on a common basis, because it takes years to understand what's going on. It really does. But the thing is that it's there in front of our face right now.
see how cool is that? I just said what I said, right? And now I have thunder and lightning over my house. That's too cool, man. That's way cool.
Well, if it hits the house, then we're going to shut down the show.
I used to all the time, whenever we finished the show, we'd go outside, me and my wife, and there'd be a chemtrail plane right over our house, right? And I go, okay, no problem. But the thing is, too, Barry, is that another thing that you maybe talk to people about is that, people bitch and complain about politicians or local, whatever. They bitch and complain about politics when they have no idea of the background of politics or what even politics is. What I try to explain to people is you can't blame the politics, okay? Right? Okay? You can only blame you. Okay? Look what the politicians did. No, they only do what they're allowed to do. And if they did this to you, you have no right to complain, because you didn't pay any attention to figure out what they were up to.
Exactly.
Okay, so whatever happens to us is our fault. It is not their fault. They did what they did. They're schemers, they're deceivers, they're liars. Okay, and they sit around their boardrooms with it's like a big game to those guys.
Oh, it is. It is.
They
laugh.
Yeah, I mean, they're sitting
and
there.
They put it in front of us.
Would you like another glass of Chivas or another Cuban? Yeah, that'd be good. Now, let's see. We took out this country, and now we got how many of them refugees did we keep in our camps all those years? 4.8 million. What do you say? Is that enough to start moving them? Yeah, I think we can start moving them now.
Are they all trained?
Yeah, I mean, this is ridiculous, and you look at the populations of the countries. America is empty. America is just, I think, slightly smaller than China. China has 1.2 billion or whatever it is. America has 300 million, a little bit more maybe. So to say that we don't have the resources for our people is a crock of nonsense. You go across Canada, it is empty. 34 million people on the second landmass place on the planet. Give me a break. So it's the same as America. You go, you have the cities around the Great Lakes and up and down the east and west coast, and for all intents and purposes, the entirety of the inside. Well, you got down to Mississippi, but basically the interior of America is empty. And so why are we not gone back to building our own what we need? We manufacture nothing here. Why is that? Because they took it away from us. Why is that? Because the plan was to take us down, to make us dependent. Okay? We have to become independent again of this globalist nonsense that's going on. We, the people, have to get back to manufacturing what we require and growing what we require. And like you said, I said once, it's like a bunch of mad scientists got together. If you remember the old B movies, the mad scientist wants to control all the water, and the other one wants to control all the food, and the other one wants to control all of this or that. It's like they all got together.
Yeah,
and they control everything, and they're poisoned. They've poisoned everything.
Yeah. In the last 100 years, Ron, we have reached almost 50% extinction of all animals and birds and fish on this planet in the last 100 years, 110 years.
And you didn't do it, and I didn't do it.
Isn't that a great achievement of the human race? 50% extinction, almost 50%.
It's not the human race, so I don't like.
I know that.
Human
but Ron, we've all been manipulated. We've all been brainwashed and manipulated. I was in my life. Okay, so I'm saying, as humans, we've allowed this to happen. We've allowed this planet to be destroyed. We've allowed them to run ramshot on our planet because we have been controlled. We've been brainwashed.
You got to be.
Got to get out of that. We got to get out of the matrix.
Yeah, but you got to be careful with that word, right?
Yeah.
You're not a human. They've created you to be a human. And a human is an animal, so that gives them the upper hand on you. I mean, like I said to you the one time, I used basically those three search engines: etymology, an old Webster's from 1920s or 1918 or whatever it was, and a very good dictionary, and the KJV.Bible or KJVBible.net. Now, because I trace words, like most of the words that we think we know the meaning of, we do not. Especially when they take the same word and they put, once they put the brackets law around it, you find that the word has another different meaning to it. So it's very important we understand the words. But two words which when I was searching through the legal system versus the law system, when I put legal and human into the King James Bible search engine, they don't appear. They don't exist. And the reason they don't exist is that God didn't create humans. God created man. The Creator created man. He didn't create humans. There's no word in that Bible, human. And God also gave us law. He didn't give us a legal system. Okay? Human is that deception. Okay? Follow my word or obey my word or be deceived and be as cattle, chattel, slaves. That, my friend, is the definition of a human. Okay, so I really, every time I hear the word human rights, these are rights of the animals. Then that's what they've done. They've classed us as an animal. That's why they want to give a tree the same rights as you. That's why Gorbachev says, one guy said to Gorbachev, I believe it was, when you're done with this, we won't have any more rights than a freaking tree. And Gorbachev looked at him, you wish. Okay? You wish. So we are being driven to the lowest common denominator. We are basically, we are not classed as men. We are animals. And the men, God gave man dominion over the world or over his creation. And these people, through the Pope, with this idea that he is the vicar of Christ, and the kings and queens who have the divine right of kings, which means that they are the proxies, agents of God, and that anything they proclaim is as if from God, okay, which makes them God over the animals, which is us. That's why we're in the position we're in. And we have got to get over this idea that we're humans. And we have got to get back to the idea that we are men. And we better start acting like men. Because
we don't even want to get into Pope Francis today.
No, but a lot of Jesuits have wanted to get into Pope Francis.
Yeah. What, you mean down in Argentina there?
What?
When he was down in Argentina there or now?
Oh, anyway, he's pretty easy.
Pretty easy, yeah.
Goose guy. Um,
What a travesty that is, man.
well,
He's
it's
just
just
turning the
what it is.
Catholicism upside down. But anyways,
Well,
that's another conversation
yeah,
for another day.
we're getting close. Well, we got a little bit of time, but if you ever
Let's
watch
talk about
that,
Kathleen for about 10 minutes here.
oh, please do, please do.
Well, no, you're on top of this just as much as I am, Ron, and you know what's going on with this
No, but I
program.
like to hear everyone's views.
Well, my views on it, buddy, is that it's absolute travesty what's going on inside the school system. That what they're trying to teach our children at 6, 7, 8, 9 years old has no place in the school system, is totally inappropriate for age, and to me, it is an attack on the morality of our children. All people have to really understand, Ron, is that the person that laid down a good percentage of the sex education program for Catholic government in Ontario was a gentleman named Ben Levine. And we all know now that Ben has been charged and has pleaded guilty to, I have it right here, 2 charges of sexual assault and 2 charges of possessing child porn. And he's pleaded guilty to them both. And this was the mastermind that laid down the sexual agenda for the sex education program, the agenda right from grade 1 to grade 12, I think it is. That and Planned Parenthood in Ontario. And all I say to people is go look at both these organizations, go to some of their pages, look at, go to Planned Parenthood and look at their 13-year-old guideline and look at a program called Anal One-on-One, where some of the stuff they talk about just absolutely astounds me. It has no place at that point in a young person's life. Children at 6 years old are being exposed to stuff that totally it's not applicable to their life. Children, we grow up, we become young adults, we go through puberty, we go through adolescence. Our minds start to, females start to look good at us when I'm 13, 14. I remember when I started taking a look at girls and go, wow, that looks pretty good. But that was 14, 15 years into my life. Up to that point, I was allowed to have a childhood where I wasn't exposed to any of that. And, now our whole society is sexualizing our children right from the time they can watch TV, i.e. through Disney movies. I mean, I could show you thousands of examples of subliminal sexualization in Disney, all through Disney, right from the beginning. You can see it in the entertainment industry. You can see it everywhere. Now we're seeing our schools explicitly expose children to stuff that, in my opinion, has no bearing in their life at this point. When I went to school, 6, 7, 8 years old, we studied history, we studied geography, we studied stuff. We never had anything like that exposed to her. So what is changing in our society? What is the driving mechanism behind this sexualization of our children at such a young age? And why would the Ontario government take a manifesto from a pedophile and use it as a guideline for a sex education program? To me, it's a pedophile manifesto. They're grooming our children. My opinion on it, Ron.
Well, you're absolutely right.
I'll pass the stick to you.
How parents could not. I don't know what happened to the parents other than they came through the same school system. I find it devastating that any parent would allow their child to even enter a school anymore. But they do. They say they're too busy. So the state's going to have to look after them, which was what the state wanted all along, was the children.
Of course.
And what is more precious than a child? You watch a child playing out in the yard or, splashing in the pool or something. They're free. They're young. They're learning things.
Innocent.
Absolutely innocent. They're enjoying each other's company. And they're like kittens or puppies. They have not a care really in the world. And then you take them and you put them in the public school system and you destroy them.
Absolutely.
A child is only a child for a short period of time, and they use that time to destroy them. And I don't know how else you could say that. They've destroyed them.
Well, we see it everywhere, Ron. We see it all around the world. You look at the core program in the United States of America. You look at the sex education programs in the United States right now, what they're implementing. We look at the one now that our wise premier here is murmuring about implementing in the BC schools. Of course, she's liberal, I mean, it's everywhere. And I feel as a society that, children are what you feed them. A plant, if you feed a plant poop all its life, that plant is going to end up giving you poop when it's full grown and you're harvesting it. And I say to people, man, if you fill your children's minds with this kind of, children are innocent, they're curious, if you fill your children's minds with this kind of garbage at this age in your life, you're destroying the mind of that child. You're not allowing them to enjoy the innocence. I look back at my childhood, Ron, and I say, buddy, that was the best times of my life. I can remember going fishing with my dad and camping and all the great stuff we did, and none of that stuff that they're trying to put into our children's mind was prevalent in our society. We have seen a monumental shift in our school system, and people, I'm telling you, man, if you don't stop this is just the beginning of this program. I'm telling you right now, if we don't put a stop to this, it's going to manifest itself, it's going to grow, and we will have children that put out nothing but poop when they're coming adult age. I mean, look at, for God's sakes, what are we doing to our children? These are the most precious thing in the world. You love them to death, and we're destroying them. And you're closing your eyes to it. Wake up, people, please.
I know. I find that probably the hardest subject to even discuss.
Oh, it kills me, Ron. I'm sorry.
No,
tears me apart,
you take everything else that's bad that's going on the planet, and then you look at the children. And if we can't stand up for the children,
protect them,
then, what have we become?
Sorry.
Right? It's really sad. It's beyond sad, and this idea of human rights, I ain't going there. Okay, it's time we manned up. We have to start acting like men and women again, not these mindless animals that can be hauled from here to there and told to do this and do that, and we know what's best for your child. What do you mean you know what's best for my child? Pedophilia, training my child to be something that's willingly abused by pedophiles is good for my child? I mean, come on, people.
That's where we're going, folks. And we just have to identify. And, Ron, I'm telling you, I'm out in British Columbia, but I'm talking to a lot of people in Ontario, and I'm exposing some of the people in Ontario to this agenda. And they're, the mainstream media guys does such a good job at covering this stuff up, keeping it away from public attention. I'm talking with people in Ontario, and they had no idea how bad this agenda is. I send them a video, and boom, they come back to me. They go, "What the is going on here?"
Exactly.
I said, yeah, this is in your backyard, guys. Wake up to it, please. And it's having an effect. People are starting. We see thousands of children being held out of Ontario schools in protest to this. It's growing, and we just have to get the public education out there. Let people fully know the implications of this and what it's going to do to their children in the future, guys.
And that is our duty. We have a duty to do that.
Well, yeah, I'm here. I can't shut up, buddy.
No, I love it. I love it, Barry. I mean, you're on fire, buddy, and that's the whole point. You have it in your moral value has risen to the top, and that's what everybody has to do. This is a moral fight. It's a psychological fight, and it's a spiritual fight. And if you don't have those tools, well, you're already dead. Because if you're not a moral man or woman, and you can't see what's wrong, and you can't stand up to push back against what's wrong, then you're not really alive. So let's all get alive, and as I always say, keep talking. And this, Barry, I'm so happy. I talked too much today, I know that, and I apologize to everybody for that, but he got me onto some stuff that I haven't discussed for a while, so it was good that way. But we just keep talking, teaching, and shining the light, and that's exactly what Barry does, and I'm so very, very appreciative for it. So Barry, thank you very much. We got to do this again, and I promise I will talk less. And I also want to put this plug in before we get out of here. Hal from Behind the Woodshed will be on at 3:00. And I encourage everybody to tune into his show, and then we will see you back here on Tuesday 7 to 8, and again on Thursday 7 to 8 Eastern Standard Time. So Barry, once again, thank you so very, very much for doing this. And
it's been a pleasure, and I got a million things I'd like to talk about. So
I've got to get you back. I mean, you're the kind of guy I've been looking for. And we're all hoping that you find your truck keys.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I was almost going to not go on the radio today because I was ready to kill, buddy.
Yeah.
No,
they'll show up.
They'll show up here somewhere.
Yeah. Okay, so again, thank you for listeners and those in the chat. And, if you enjoy what you're hearing over here on UCY.TV, PR the hell out of it because it's still a small network. Good people here. And so till Tuesday night, I'm going to bid you adieu because I should hear music in about, I don't know, a minute or less. So I'm just going to head on out of here now. And I got to go feed my cat. And Barry's got to get his keys so he can go feed himself and the rest of the family. So everybody from me and Barry and the listeners, peace and light. Thank you. Okay, we're out. Thank you.
Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back, it's only for they bomb. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids. No one lives countries. Lie to your face.